Good evening once again. It's Monday night. It's 8 o'clock and it's time for the Monday review show. Just a reminder that we do go out on Facebook and on YouTube, and like to invite anybody out there who'd like to send a question or look for clarification on something. Please do contact the show. There's a little thing down there on the bottom right hand side of the screen for you to make comments, and I'd welcome your comments and contribution. Delighted to be joined once again by former Premier League referee, former FIFA referee, and former head of the PGMOL, Keith Hackett. Thanks again, Keith, for giving up your time.
Pleasure.
Much appreciated. Look, a thing that's been exercising a lot of people, and you probably like me have been getting a lot of comments about it, is this raking of players by another player. I mean, going down the bottom of the calf there, is it? And going right down to the Achilles. That can do irreparable damage. It could put a player out for months and months. And there's been a few cases of it. There was one in the Liverpool game, and I saw another one somewhere else. Obviously you don't know, but is this a new phenomenon that's creeping in? I mean, the player with the ball is gone, and is that the opponent's only way of stopping the player to rake him from behind, particularly at the heel where the Achilles is?
Yeah. I mean, look, players commit offences and referees apply the laws of the game, supposedly. In those instances, I can remember, there was one against the Chelsea player, the young Chelsea player. There was started just below the knee and raked down the back from the knee, almost down to the shoe. It took the Achilles in. You know, referees have got to outlaw this challenge. It is dangerous to the player, and I'm surprised that we're not actually sanctioning that, given the fact in the Premier League we have, VAR. We've got the opportunity to look carefully at these incidents, and I know they're under time pressure, but nonetheless, if Howard Webb is not issuing an instruction to the referees that he wants these challenges outlawed because they are career threatening. As a referee that's suffered an Achilles strain at times, I know how painful it is, and I know that 7 weeks of recovery time to get anywhere near back to where you used to be before you had one. So, look, I think referees have just got to concentrate a little more, and they've got to outlaw it. It is a serious foul play. It's reckless. It's got force. You don't need a lot of force in these challenges to endanger the safety of an opponent. And the law is very specific, isn't it? Because the law has said, look, challenges from the front, the side, or the rear. In our era, we used to concentrate very much on challenges from the rear, where the defender used to come in and take everything, and you give a foul. But the law is specific here, and I think we're seeing in the English Premier League a lack of focus, and perhaps a willingness of not wanting, or an unwillingness to actually take the ultimate sanction, and that's a red card.
Why do you think referees are missing this? I mean, there are times when a player's boot will come off, having been literally dragged off by the opponent's foot going down the back of the ankle. Is it lack of concentration? Now, there could be other reasons. Of course, it could be in a bad position. There could be somebody blocking them, or I think it's becoming more too common.
Yeah, I think the first thing is distance from ball is important. There's no question about the fitness levels of Premier League referees. They are very fit. They ought to be. They're full-time officials.
Sure.
What I'm noticing is, and proximity to plays is important, but sometimes you can be too close. And I think with all the shenanigans that's going off on upper body fouls, illegal use of hand and arm, and all those grappling effects, I think
Now we'll come to that in a moment.
if you move in too close, you're either looking waist up or waist down, and in that situation, you're going to miss those below the waist. So the important thing is, first of all, from a refereeing point of view, is don't get too close. Have a good view, because you can get the speed and intensity of the challenge in focus, and you're seeing the body of the player and the offending player as a whole. But, you know, again, I know that it's pretty evident, isn't it, that VAR, the bar has been raised by Howard Webb. He wants them to come in on what is clear and obvious errors. He's put that under the referee's call. But as a group of referees, they ought to be able to sit down and say, look, these are the absolute red lines. And for me, this challenge is a red line. There is no reason not to dismiss the player in law for that type of challenge.
So could that be, or would that be, or might that be a clear and obvious error that the referee didn't see it? So that's an error. Does it fall into that category?
Well, I think it does. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're a referee sat in the VAR room and you see an offence of that nature and the referee has not punished it in what is law, then VAR, because this is a red card offence, then VAR should come in and say, look, I want you to have a second look. Because you can miss those challenges that, you know, players can block your view. I don't generally think this is a competence situation. I think this is down to vision, seeing it, recognizing, and then act. And I find it incredible that one on the Chelsea player was so obviously a red card. No one in the game should defend it. You know, and this could have taken a young player. It doesn't matter who the player is. You know, Look, we see things week in, week out. We're the adjudicators, and part of it is about showing courage. And if you have to send somebody off, send them off.
So be it. And I noticed that in the Fulham Liverpool game, the player who fouled Andy Robinson initially actually stayed with him when he went down to apologize. But I mean, why was there a necessity to apologize? He shouldn't have done it in the first place. So the mere fact that he apologized, he must realize that what he had done was wrong. But why did he do it in the first place? I mean, that could have put a player, doesn't matter who he is, out of action for a number of weeks, maybe a number of months. So coming to apologize really doesn't help.
No, I think that we're seeing these tend to be cyclical, but I do think we're being liberal in certain areas and authority is not being sustained during the course of a game. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, the game requires tough referees with courage. And if we have to send somebody off, we have to send somebody off. I know we don't like sending players off, but ultimately, if the law demands it, the players committed the offence, then that's what you should be doing.
And they know, surely. They must be coached in this week in and week out. And I put a little graphic up on Facebook during the week of players falling down, one holding his knee, another holding his face. There were graphics, they weren't real players. And on the guy who was coaching them was drama coach on the back of his tracksuit. You know, they are obviously being told, fall down, hold your leg, hold your face, whatever. And they're being, I'm convinced, I don't know, and I haven't been there, but I'm sure, I'm almost convinced that the coaches are telling the players, go down, hold your leg, sometimes pretend you're injured, and most times they're not that badly injured, and they're just holding up the game. So,
I mean,
do you think that's
these have
going
to,
on?
yeah. Well, I generally think that is part of. We know full well that when players are entering the penalty area, if they get a slight touch, they will go down.
Yeah.
Rather than have a shot on goal, they go down looking for a penalty kick, and invariably get it. They get the penalty decision. So yeah, I there's no question that the difficulty of the referee, both at the elite level and grassroots level, is much more difficult than in our era. But then I don't like using the word of honest cloggers in our era, but I think they respected each other, the players. Now I think there's a genuine lack of respect on the field of play in this will to win. And I understand the players are under pressure to win. The manager's under pressure to win. We've lost several managers this weekend because of poor results. So I understand all those pressures that come into the game. And because of the squads now at the Premier League level, 25 players to select from, the players want to be on the pitch. They want to be playing. And they feel that necessity when they're losing to lose their head a little bit and do daft things.
I would hate to think, Keith, that that any of the referees anywhere in the world are influenced in any way by the teams that are playing, the players involved, the managers and their reputations, and or the spectators, that they would be in any way influenced by any of those four that I've mentioned in the decisions that they're giving. And if they weren't, would there be more red cards issued? Would there be more yellow cards issued, particularly for feigning injury, for what is blatant cheating? And they're diving, and you'll see that one thing that really drives me mad, when a player is fouled, pretending to be fouled, and he goes down, the first thing he does when he goes is grab the ball. And that to me convinces me that he felt that he may not get the free kick, so if he doesn't, the ball is not going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that refereeing in the modern game, as I call it, albeit at grassroots level or at the very highest level, is much more difficult because of at grassroots level, players copying what they see on a Saturday evening or every day of the week in the Premier League and other competitions. And
I see my 7-year-old grandson doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and therefore I think that I believe that what amazes me is that we've got the Professional Footballers Association, and they say very little. They say very little about the behaviour of their members on the field of play. They'll spend a lot of time in other areas, but not enough in saying, look, you have a duty of care towards your opponent. And I think when players make those raking challenges, they know. I mean, but at this moment in time, who's in charge of the game? I think look, let's make a point first of all. I think that Anthony Taylor in the Manchester derby was exceptional.
Yeah,
it's the best I've seen. It's the best I've seen Anthony Taylor referee. He was up with play, managed the game very effectively.
Yeah, he was calm.
It was pretty obvious that players respected him. However, when those two players went head to head, right, why wasn't at that point those two players issued with a yellow card? That's the first thing. Now, the second point is,
I think they were eventually, though, Keith, were they? I think they were eventually.
Well, I think that if we look at the Kyle Walker situation, one of the hardest and in fairness, hard-working players in the game.
Indeed.
So this is the first time I've seen him do that.
Yeah.
And of course, the reality is he made himself look a fool because he was so bad at doing it.
Yeah.
So I think there are aspects of the game that are quite worrying. Yet at the same time, I thought that, not easy. Anthony Taylor was born in Wythenshawe, which is Greater Manchester. He lives in Altrincham, which is like only a few miles from Old Trafford and Manchester City's ground. But nonetheless, he has proven impartiality and delivered a very good performance, despite those nonsenses that go off.
Could there be, or should there be, some kind of retrospective punishment? I know they can overturn a red card or a yellow card 24, 48 hours later. Why don't they dish out retrospective punishment?
Well, I think this is FIFA and mainly FIFA, not the IFAB. The FIFA organisation, even under Sepp Blatter, was very reluctant that the game should be re-refereed. But now we have VAR. And so here is the game being re-refereed. There's no question. Yes, the match on-field referee makes the decision, but that decision is being re-refereed. So for me, I think that it would be very easy for FIFA and the IFAB to introduce another criteria into the VAR operation, and that is one of acts of simulation. I think that what I would suggest is this. I'm for extending punishment during that particular game. Not just an individual punishment, but a team punishment. So I think the authorities at some point have got to look at how the sin bin is being used in the grassroots game, which is, of course, only for dissent at this stage, and probably look at whether, in fact, it should be extended to include acts of simulation and go off for 10 minutes, because somehow, we've got to say that it is getting a little bit out of hand, this play acting on the field of play, and rules not being applied, rules not being adhered to. 6 seconds, hardly. I can't remember when it was invoked, but the other side of it, and now FIFA is saying, well, what we'll do is we'll experiment with a change. We'll go to 8 seconds, and if then the referee's punished, we'll have a corner kick. I mean, I don't know who thinks these up. Let's get
What's
back
the difference in 6 and 8 seconds? I mean, it's 2 seconds, and goalkeepers are holding on to the ball for up to 15, 20 seconds on a regular basis. But surely that's our fault as referees. That is surely our fault that we are not enforcing. And Law 5 says the referee shall enforce the laws of the game, and they're not doing it.
No, I mean, look, I posted some clips. I may have sent them you, Errol, and it was the Arsenal game where an Arsenal player was wrestled off the pitch. I mean, the ball was coming across. His opponent wrapped his arms around the forward and hauled him off the pitch. And like you go, I mean, this is getting out of hand. I keep saying to people, this is not football, this is rugby.
Yeah.
And then we have an holding offence in the penalty area. A clear penalty kick should have been awarded, and some idiot says it's not sustained. What's not sustained? It's a holding offence, and it was sustained because it impacted on the player.
Yeah,
and
many people have asked me. I know what I would say, but many people have said to me, "What does the referee actually say when he stops the play? Hold on, and he goes in and he talks to perhaps the two culprits, or maybe two. What does he say to them?" And I know what I would be saying. Listen, guys, stop this now, because it's either going to be a free kick to the defending team or it's going to be a penalty kick. It's one or the other. So if you want to carry on, carry on. But absolutely. So they go in and they talk, and then they back out and the players are at it again. So
Yeah,
what is the
yeah.
point?
Well, you know, I mean,
Why not
I
do it?
watched the game. I watched the game on Saturday, where one of the players put the ball at the corner kick about a yard out. When I say that, the whole of the ball was outside the quadrant at the corner kick. What has brought that about? That is this nonsense where the law says the ball should be in the quadrant, and the execution is if it's in contact with the line, it's deemed in the quadrant. Who thinks these things up? I mean, why? Why does there has? Why have we got sustained holding? I keep saying that footballers have to play with their feet, and sadly, we've got grappling, we've got holding, we've got pulling, and it at the moment, I think it's a bit of a nonsense, to be honest.
Do you know the thing with the ball in the quadrant, Keith? It's the same at the penalty on the penalty spot, which is 9 inches in circumference. But the what's the word? The feeling, the thinking nowadays is that if the edge, the circumference of the ball, if the edge of the ball is straight down in a line with the quadrant, the outside of the quadrant, that seems to be the given thing. That means the ball is not actually touching the line of the quadrant. Likewise, if the penalty kick, the ball is supposed to be in the middle of the spot, which is 12 yards. I don't know what it is in new money, but 12 yards from the goal line. But if it's not, if it's moved forward, but still in their interpretation, complying with the law, then it's 11 yards and 11 inches.
Well, I don't want to be accused myself of being an old fart, putting it bluntly. But I do think that current trends are making it more difficult for referees at all levels. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the IFAB need to be firmer and stronger with how they write the laws. And then I think they've got to say, we're not giving you any freedom of interpretation. This is what we want. This is we've seen this long-winded scenario about a handball where they're trying to prescribe it piece by piece. We're seeing now this, this sustained holding that they're talking about now as part of the process, and then how things happen. Look, I know you want to touch on the Liverpool scenario, and I think that's an interesting one because first of all, Robertson has fouled his opponent. That's the first thing. So it's a foul.
Yeah, fine.
Now,
we're talking about this and the DOGSO, the denying of a goal-scoring opportunity that was applied a red card.
What we had was a foul, and the referee allowed play to continue almost to the point where there was a shot on goal and it missed. And then he went back to punish the denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Let's just run through it. It's a foul. We have to, as a referee, quickly determine direction of play. There's no question that Robertson, the ball went slightly left, but the attacking player would have still had that opportunity, I think, to control the ball. So that's the first point he's got to look at. Distance from goal is not a problem. If this is near the halfway line, then I think the defenders would have got it. It wouldn't have been DOGSO. So we look at the position of where the offence took place. So it's near to goal.
There's a couple of yards outside the penalty area, yeah.
Yeah. Now, if it goes into the penalty, if the offence took place in the penalty area, the player who fouled his opponent has made a genuine attempt to play the ball, even though he fouled his opponent. that would be a yellow card.
Yeah, and a
And the
penalty.
penalty kick. So what they say on the law is we're reinstating that opportunity to have a shot on goal. So the covering defender was behind play, but away from the ball. Now, how do you coach referees in terms of the denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity? This is how I coach them. Foul. Doesn't matter what that level of foul is. It can be a small pull, it can be a trip, it can be a nudge and the guy falls over. So it fulfills that criteria. Now what I say to referees, I want visualization here. Take away the player in your vision, in your mindset, take away the player who's committed the offence. If that player had not committed that offence, not been there, would that forward have gone on to have a shot on goal? It's a shot on goal is sufficient. It doesn't have to score. It's an opportunity to score that fulfills that criteria. And on that basis,
denying a goal scoring opportunity. So did he have the opportunity? Yeah. Of course.
So here is a situation where Robertson has fouled. The referee's made it more difficult because he's allowed play to continue, right? And then, of course, maybe a conversation with VAR's come in and he's informed, look, that challenge was a foul that fulfilled the criteria for the denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity.
Because did he? I'm not. Yes, did he? He did blow for the foul, didn't he? I think. Yeah, he did blow for the foul.
A bit late, yeah.
But delayed, yeah. So, I mean, he obviously at the time maybe didn't think it was a foul, but he let play go on, and then he got word.
Well, he sees it as a foul, right? And then what you do is, he has to visualize that incident. Because, denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity is not just awarding the free kick, it's determining the criteria, movement direction towards goal, probability of controlling the goal, the ball, distance from goal. This is why, the referee has to be in close proximity when an offence takes place, because, that one on the line, that same challenge, that same incident, if it had been on the penalty area line, he's not got a red card, he's got a yellow, and it's a penalty kick.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't like, I think the execution could have been better by the referee, but he got it right in terms of the law.
Somebody asked me, is there any accountability for VAR guys who get it wrong? And Howard Webb has come out on one or two occasions and said, well, it was a mistake. But there's no they're saying, well, if there's retrospective, what do they say? Yeah, if there's retrospective punishment for players, is there no retrospective punishment for VAR guys?
Right. I it's as simple as this, right? You don't want your match officials repeating errors. Yeah. My approach was pretty tough. I would face up that individual, ask for his view, I would say to them, talk me through that decision, right? And we would have the video, we would have the animation that shows position on the field of play. And that match official, that team of officials would have some operational advice. Then they would be told, you're not going to be used next week.
Yeah.
That doesn't apply, does it? Because we see referees making these errors and getting the appointments. So from my point of view, maybe people thought I was harsh or strict, but it was in the early days of the PGMOL, and I wanted absolutely the top level of standards. And yeah, some might have said they were operating under fear, but I would suggest that I put them in a position where I wanted them to be sharp. I wanted them to be focused. I wanted them to apply the law in a manner and manage effectively. So preventative refereeing rather than reactive refereeing. And I think sometimes I listen to the explanations and I'm thinking, if I'm an active referee and I put myself in the position of an active referee, I'm slightly confused with the messages that are coming out. 1 week, that's a red card, and a similar offence the following week isn't.
And that's the big complaint from many people is
you're not being consistent. And consistency with a group of professional referees is easier to achieve than semi-professional referees, because what you do is you put them in a room, and if need be, you lock them in that room for a day, and you run through these situations, and you say, when you leave this room, this is what we're going to do. I thought it was interesting this week because Michael Oliver, I also thought, had a good game. And Michael Oliver actually went in, spoke to the two teams about holding in the penalty area, gave a free kick to the defence. Nobody complained. And I'm thinking, the more that's done, and the more, I always said to the group of referees, those top referees, those top of the pile within that group, set the scene and set the example. And I think if the other referees watch, Taylor, Oliver, Rob Jones, I mean, like the guy who's got tonight's game, Chris Kavanagh, I think he's had about 8 games in 8 weeks. I think they're keeping him very busy.
Yeah.
And you know what that does? The more you do it, the better you become, I think. Practice makes perfect, or puts you on the pathway to perfection.
As always, Keith, thank you very much for joining me on this Monday show. We'll do it all again next Monday. Let's hope we'll have lots to talk about. And for you out there, thank you very much for watching and contributing to the show. Next Monday, again, 8 p.m. Hope you'll join me. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye.